This is crazy because I have just built an entire AI-powered web application from scratch without writing a single line of code myself. It has a login page, a chat interface powered by an AI agent, Stripe payments, and a database where you can store user data, chat data, and much more. I built the whole thing using Lovable, Supabase, n8n, and Stripe. So even though if you're a beginner or someone a bit more technical but doesn't know how to build software, I highly suggest you follow along because I will be going through everything step by step, raw. And look, I'm going to be honest, by the end of this video, you might not have your next $1 million idea built and finished, but I promise you'll learn something even more important, which is to understand how these services and tools work together to bring your idea into something that works. So we'll be discussing prototypes and minimum viable products. Okay, so now we're going to go through the architecture so that you understand how this works in an overview, and then we will get to the build. So let's get straight to it. So what you see here is a typical architecture with which people build web applications. So we have on the left the UI, right, the front end, pretty much everything that you're able to see. And then on the back end, where all the data is being processed in the background. So as an example, I put this chat interface where perhaps we are sending messages to an AI agent and then the AI agent is replying back. So the first thing that's happening here is that we're sending a message, right? Let's say we're sending this first message. When we hit send, we're packaging that into some sort of object that we're sending perhaps via an API request to the backend. And then this message here is going to be processed by this script or this automation where the AI agent is programmed. It's going to process the input and then give an output back and then give it back to the front end so we can render it here on this message, on this following message. Cool. So now we have that, but then we also need a way to store all of these messages. You can store these on the server itself, but when you refresh the site, then all these messages are going to disappear because they are stored in the moment. So what we do is store all these messages that get produced in some form of storage or database, okay? So that when you come back to the app, then the messages are still present. You don't lose that information. Another thing that we have to take into account as well is the authentication. So when you log in with a password, you want a certain set of messages to appear, okay? So you need to relate that authentication data to the right storage, to the right messages and so on. So that's another thing that you need to do, as well as storing the actual passwords and the credentials, right? So actually, the authentication data is usually stored in the database as well with other stuff, such as the messages and whatnot. So I just wanted to give you a brief overview on how this typically works. But now to be able to build very, very quick, we are changing the architecture to accommodate now the use of Lovable and n8n. So the way we're going to build this now is we have Lovable with input fields. Okay, think about the example above. We're sending a message and we're sending it via webhooks from one endpoint to another endpoint. Okay, this endpoint here is what you see right here. And when we receive it with this webhook, then we're going to trigger the automation on n8n. And then this is going to be passed to an AI agent. It's going to process anything that it needs to do. And then it's going to respond back, okay, with the second message. The great thing about Lovable is that we don't have to handle any of the storage logic. We don't need to indicate where in Supabase we're storing the information and all of that. Within n8n, we don't need to do that, because Lovable has a direct connection to Supabase. So it's all handled through this part, okay? All of the database, all of the login details, the Stripe ID payments, subscription data, everything. So we don't have to handle that on n8n, which is honestly a blessing. And then once you build everything, Lovable also has a great connection to GitHub where you can just post it, you can just set it up as a repo, and then you can do whatever you want there. So then you can host the GitHub repo to any of your providers, such as ls.io or Render or any of those, right? Hostinger as well. So hopefully you got a good idea on how this works, how this is going to work. And we're going to follow this process. So we're going to create and refine the prompt with Claude and Lovable docs. Okay, so there's a specific set of docs that teach you how to make a good prompt to pass on to the Lovable agent so that it can prepare us the front end properly. So we're going to refine the prompt with Claude and then also attach these docs as well to ground prompt and verify that the prompt works with Lovable. You're going to see it now in a second, so don't get confused. Then we're going to prepare the front end with Lovable. So we're just going to paste in the prompt and perhaps refine any features that we see fit. Then once we think that's ready, then we're going to build the automations in n8n and connect everything with webhooks as I showed you above. Then when we see that working, we're going to set up all the databases we need in Supabase for user data and also for all the payments in Stripe that we need to do, right? All the IDs for making payments by the user. And then we're going to do the final testing, just make sure that everything works. Okay, so that's kind of the flow we're following. Cool. let's move on to the actual build. Okay, so in this case, I have quickly prepared a prompt. Feel free to copy and paste it. I'll leave it for free inside the community, Neural Architects. So copy that, paste it there if you want. And now we're going to say, I am going to instruct the code AI agent at lovable.dev to build me a simple web app MVP. Please refine the prompt with the lovable.dev guidelines available in the following URL. And the team at Lovable was nice enough to drop us this post with information on how to effectively prompt the AI agents in Lovable so that they're able to build a proper front end. So we're going to copy this URL here. We're going to paste it right here, and then we're going to add a few characters so that we separate the actual prompt from the main prompt from the prompt that I just wrote over here. Now we're going to say, here's the prompt. So it has the URL to refine this prompt with the guidelines. So I chose O3 mini high because it's pretty good at reasoning, and it should be able also to go to the URL and refine the prompt properly. So let's see how it gets along. Okay, so here's the prompt. If I copy it, it should be available already marked down. Now what we're going to do is come back to Lovable and just drop it in here, okay? So I'll leave the prompt there and see. Obviously, maybe just remove that top part. Remove the need to say that it's in Markdown because it's in Markdown. And this is the stuff at the end as well. Yeah, cool. So you have the option also, if you haven't tried Lovable before, to attach a picture. So let's say you big fan of on how something works. You know, you found a web app online or some form of app, some feature that you like, then you can paste it in here. You can also import Figma designs as well. So if you have a Figma design for an app, right, for a mobile app that you're working on or you finish designing, then you can export that onto here, which just gives you that granular control, that pixel perfect control on how you want the app to look like, which sometimes it's needed. But since we're just demonstrating how we should build this, then it doesn't matter. So let's press enter. And now the AI agent at Lovable is going to get to work. So we're going to wait a second for it to build this. All right, so here we go. We have this AI agent marketplace where we can discover and use AI agents to help us solve complex tasks and boost our productivity. So you have Travely, which is the agent that we are going to prepare today. We have got Pitch Decker, Study Buddy, and Legalese. So yeah, pretty simple. Choose an agent, chat with the agent, get results. Cool. So let's see the pages. We have an about page. Pretty cool. See the pricing. This is great. So we get the basic, pro, business version. It's great. Looks pretty dope. Then we got the Travely tool. That is great. So we're going to be looking at this chat interface and understanding how we can send messages back and forth with n8n. And then we have the second tool, which is the Pitch Decker. So let's work on this one. So now what we need to do is to connect this to a workflow inside n8n. So how do we get started with this? First of all, we're going to publish this so that it helps with the refreshing of the page. Sometimes the page can be refreshed automatically for some reason, which I'm not in favor of at the moment. So let's leave it at that. Let's click try now, and there we go. So now we are going to go back to n8n. Feel free to create an account if you didn't do that yet, and we are going to add a node. So we're going to add a webhook node. Okay. Just like that. And essentially we are going to put it as a post request. We're going to change the path name, that travel agent, just so that this is kind of good practice so that you understand where the links are coming from. Okay, what link is for what, if you seem to have many of them. And we're going to change this because later on we're going to add another node, which is going to respond to this first node here. You will understand what that means in a second. But yeah, so this is as it is. You can switch to production URL if you want, but I'll leave it as test URL. The reason being is because I want to be able to click test workflow and understand what's going on with each of the nodes that we add. Production URL one is mainly for when you want to set this icon to active. And that will mean that you don't have to hit test workflow every single time. Okay, so you can even see the message here. So your triggers will now fire production executions automatically. These executions will not show up immediately in the editor, but you can use the execution list. Okay, so it's basically saying that you can go to the execution tabs and understand what you've executed here, right? There's a log of executions that you've done in the past. So, okay, now we're gonna copy this. And the reason I'm putting post is because we are receiving a post request from Lovable, okay? So hopefully that made sense. So we're gonna copy this URL, pass it here, and then we're gonna say, first of all, let's understand how this works. How is it set up? I'm gonna say hi, okay. Let's put another one to see if it's a placeholder value. Right, so we input two different messages. The same message comes up, which confirms that this is a placeholder message. So no matter what I add, it's going to be the same message. Okay, so now what we're going to do is change what we see on the screen right here. Okay, so this message that we see back, we're going to change it, replace it from a placeholder value to a response from the webhook here. So before doing all that, we just need to verify that this works. So what I'm going to do is set this up here and then respond to webhook, okay? We're going to put all incoming items for now, doesn't matter. All I want is to test this workflow and see that this workflow was triggered. That's all for now. So now what I'm going to do is, oh, it disappeared. That's great. Okay, so it might happen. Okay, so we mentioned that if we put hi, then we got a placeholder value. Okay, so now I want to say I'm in the Travelly page for when I send a message on the chat interface. I want that message to be sent to the following n8n workflow. I want the message to be sent to the following webhook address right here. And that's it for now. That's all we're gonna do. Let's keep it simple. So now this should work. So let's say if I put hello like that, we're gonna go back, trigger this workflow, and send, oh, okay, great. Well, that helps a lot. Hello, I processed your request, we couldn't generate a proper response. That doesn't matter because we received the message here. Cool. Okay, now we're gonna go and set up the second part. So now there's probably some logic in the background that has two kind of flows set up. So the first flow is when it actually gets a response back and when it doesn't. So when it doesn't, we're going to see this placeholder message. So we need to change that. So this is probably because so I just want to be able to send something back. Thing is that the response is not being rendered over here. So we mentioned that I want to send my message, which let's check if it did send. Yeah. So you see here that we actually received the message on n8n, but now we need to send it back and render it on the interface. Okay. So now I want to render the webhook response from the same address into the chat interface as the AI agent response, right? For doing that, let's put hi. It doesn't matter. So just go like that. Just give it a little guidance on what I'm referring to, maybe a second one so that it knows that it's this one. Okay, that one is the AI agent response. Let's go ahead and do that. So mentioned, it appears that there's an issue with the fetch operation that results in a fail to fetch error. Okay, so it's actually grabbing stuff from the background. So let's see if that worked. So let's run this. Now we set this respond to webhook node so that we should receive all of this back onto here. Okay, so we're gonna trigger this. Let's put in hi. Hi, we received a message. Here's what I found in the webhook response. Okay, that doesn't help. So I actually triggered this, but it's adding another placeholder message. I want you to add an await response piece of code that allows to await for the webhook response to be returned and then rendered as the AI agent response instead of adding a placeholder value like you just did. Like that. So hopefully it understands that. So I'm trying to do it in a way that you would do it. Okay. So this is gonna end up being a kind of a chat and back and forth chat with a AI agent in Lovable, unless you have a really good structure and you exactly know how this app is gonna work. So the more detail that you are in your prompt with how messages are being sent, how data and where is data being added and removed and rendered in the screen, well, that's gonna be an extra set of problems that you can save yourself from having. But yeah, essentially what I told it right now is to add a property called await response, okay, a function called await response, so that it actually waits for the webhook response before doing anything on the screen. So it's going to wait for that and then actually render that on the screen. So hopefully fix that. So let's do that again. Let's say hi. So I received your message asking about hi. Okay, so again, it's doing a placeholder message. I want you to display the raw webhook message. Because now, if I actually say, book me, if I do this, exactly. So it's another placeholder value. So maybe I'm not prompting it effectively. I want you to display the raw webhook message, the webhook response. So now what it did, it actually looked for the response that it needs to send back onto the interface, but now it's wrapping another placeholder value around it. So that's not what I want. I just want the raw message. Like it works, but I want to see the raw message. Okay, so it should be done. Let's try that again. And let's say hi. Okay, cool. So now we receive the full response. So we receive a body with a message, and then with some apparently another parameter that we didn't ask for. But since I told it that it's an AI agent, that it adds a role and the content. It's probably trying to mimic some OpenAI body, but it doesn't matter. What we want is this. Okay. So now let's say only return on the chat interface the message. So that's it. So hopefully it knows that I'm referring to this. The thing is that we're just mirroring what we sent it. Well, actually there's no need in doing this, because the truth is that I actually want to receive the message raw, so that then when we add the AI agent here, then we can see what exact property from the response value we want to return back from the agent in the middle, right? So we saw that it works, right? We received something back. So now what we're going to do is, instead of it writing this, hopefully, yeah, it stopped. Okay, so now we are going to go back here and actually add the agent. So let's delete this. Now we are going to add an AI agent. So we're going to open this, Advanced AI agent, let's leave as it is, respond to webhook, that should be fine. Let's add a chat model, OpenAI should be good enough. Let's do 4 mini for now. Shouldn't matter that much at the moment. Let's add some simple memory, because this tutorial is not about setting up a full-fledged agent, just to show you how we connect things from both sides. And yeah, that's it. We're gonna leave it as like that for now before adding any extra functionalities. So now, instead of doing this so that I can run the agent, well, actually, what message are we sending it? We have a hi at least. Okay, so instead of doing all that back and forth thing, we're just gonna run the agent here. So define below, we're gonna add the message that we're receiving from Lovable, like that, and we're gonna test the step. Okay, so what's going on? Simple memory. Okay, so we don't have a key, so we can add a random key at the moment. What you can do, okay, if you want to do this properly, you can ask it from this side for every conversation the user is having to create a unique key. But for this case, we're not gonna complicate ourselves too much. We're just gonna add a random key, but that's how you would do it. So what would happen is that you would connect to Supabase, and on Supabase, whenever someone logs in, you have an email and a password, and then information associated to that user, right? To that email and password. One of those pieces of information would be the session ID, okay? With this key that you see here. But for testing purposes, I'm just gonna put test 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't matter. It just needs something unique. So now we are going to run that and see what we receive back. Hello, how can I assist you today? So now we're gonna send that back as a text response and like this, okay? So now if we run this, let's see what we receive back. So if we say hi, hello, how are you? Okay, that is fine. Okay, so we need to understand what happens here. So let's have a thought. I added an AI agent on n8n where the webhook is triggered, and I am sending back a webhook response, but I can't see it rendered on the chat interface screenshot. So it's good practice whenever you see an error like this, or you don't know what's going on, just send in a screenshot of whatever you're seeing, and then, you know, give it as much data as possible. So yeah, console logs, the webhook is returning plain text response instead of JSON, which is causing a parsing error when the code tries to parse the response. So it's pretty smart enough to go through the logs and understand what's going on in the background. So that's pretty good. So yeah, if you're developing proper web apps, then you essentially have a log here. So if you go in your browser and you go on inspect, so you can go here, click inspect, and then go to console, to the console tab, you're gonna see how, you know, the web app is interacting with any external stuff. So anything outside of the web app, you're going to see what is being sent out of the web app and being sent inside, as well as any other random errors that the web app is having. Okay, so now we are going to run this again and say, hello, how's the weather? Just to understand if the reply is from the AI agent in n8n. There you go. So I don't have real-time capabilities, blah, blah, blah. So we go back and we see the agent response. I don't have real-time. Okay, so it's not just grabbing the JSON and pasting it there. It's only giving us the actual contents, the actual value from that output key. So that's great. So it works, okay? Now we're gonna add additional capabilities to the agent so that it actually gives us some travel itinerary or something like that. Okay, so now that we have connected a Lovable with n8n and we can send messages back and forth, we can go ahead and improve the functionalities of this AI agent, right? In this case, we want a travel agent so that it prepares us perhaps an itinerary, okay, based on a user input. So in order to do this, first of all, I'm going to refine the prompt. Well, if there is any. Okay, there's no system prompt, so this is important. So what I did already is that I searched and refined a system prompt that I could use. So I'm just going to copy this here. Okay, and I'm going to take you through the prompt a bit. So I'm using a specific set of tools. And for the system prompt, you want to explain to the agent also what tools it has available, okay? Obviously, the overall objective and how it should return the answer, right? Perhaps giving it an example output. If you can give 2 or more examples, the better. But obviously, don't make the prompt too large either, okay? But yeah, so we have something like this. That should be good. And now we're going to add some tools, okay? So I'm gonna add some tools that you might not have available in your own version of n8n because I'm using a self-hosted version. The reason I'm using these specific tools is to make the development, to finish off the agent a bit quicker so that I can demonstrate the output and that's it. But I'm gonna show you now a way of connecting to another platform, which is great, to be able to perform other tasks, okay? But first of all, I'm gonna finish this off. So I'm gonna change the name of this to Airbnb list tools. If you don't understand what MCP is, because these are some MCP notes, I will leave a link in the description so that you can understand in a bit more depth what is MCP and how to install it and have it be used by your AI agents, okay? So nevertheless, I'm gonna keep adding this last one. So we need one for listing the tools available and then another one for executing the tools. So doing the actual search inside Airbnb. So in this case, this might be relevant for you as well. So there's this expression called $ from AI. Let's add the final brackets here. Okay, so this from AI allows the language model to understand that it can fill this parameter by itself, okay? It's not hard-coded. The AI can decide what to put in here. So the Airbnb execute tool. And then we can put perhaps tool to execute. Okay, we can leave this defined by the model. Okay, and then we'll rename this with Airbnb execute tool. And so, as I said, if you don't have MCP or you don't know what it is, I'm going to show you an alternative method. So you can use, for the meantime, to make life easier, you can search for Firecrawl. I'm not going to have it here, but you probably have Firecrawl or some sort of web browser tool that allows you to search and scrape websites. Perhaps you can get data like that regarding places to visit or specific hotels and whatnot. But I'm specifically doing an Airbnb search. But yeah, so you can do that, or you can do the HTTP request tool. Okay, you can launch this up right here, attach it to the agent, and you can say, use this to search through whatever you're using. So the reason I'm putting the HTTP request here is because we can use this platform, this amazing platform called Appify, which has a store for scrapers. So they have some people, there's a community of people that build these scrapers that allow you to search through Instagram, for example, through TikTok, right? Collect all sorts of information. And what you can do then is, in this case, we're searching through Airbnb. I'm pretty sure they also have Airbnb. You can go in their scraper and go to their API endpoints. Okay, so these are the inputs that you can, I'll explain that now. But you can go through the API endpoints and you can go down here and you can run this via this URL. Okay, you can run the scraper by this URL and you can either pay monthly or pay per usage, depending on what the creator of the scraper has put here. So in this case, you need to pay per month and then usage on top. So the way to set this up, okay, let me quickly go back here. You need to make a post request to the URL on what they list here, okay? So go to API endpoints again. You're gonna go down and you wanna use this one. So run actor synchronously and get dataset items. So what this is going to do is run the actor in the background, okay, or run the scraper, it's the same word, it means the same. So you're gonna run the actor and then wait for it to finish. And once it's done with the run and the scraping, then you can get the results from that scrape. And with this URL, you also get the token, all right, the secret token. So you don't need to do any authentication. So if you copy this and you paste it back here, you don't need to do any authentication here because the API key is already inside the URL. What you do need though is the body. Okay, these are the requirements that we're gonna send to the scraper. So I'm doing a quick crash course here. So if you're interested, then fill in the inputs that you want to add. Some of them are optional, but if you fill these in, then you're gonna have an understanding on how you need to send the request through. So a number of homes, you can put 15, whatever. You can even, attach minimum price, maximum price. If you fill these in, then if you go to JSON, then you're going to see how the request needs to be shaped. What you can do is copy this, okay? You can copy this, use JSON below, okay? You can also fill it using the fields below. You can also let the model specify the entire body, but there's a chance that it can get it wrong. So my take is use JSON. Let's open the expression tab here. Paste that there, okay? What you can do if you want certain elements to be guessed by AI or filled in by AI, what you can do is delete this, right? This is a string, so that's why it's surrounded by speech, by quotation marks. If it's a Boolean, then true, false, it doesn't need that. If it's a integer, it doesn't need that either. So just a little introduction regarding that. So inside these quotation marks, if it's a string, then you're gonna do this, okay? Get to squiggly parentheses. And now you're gonna write dollar, as I did before, probably saw that before, from AI. And then you're gonna add a name for what the AI thinks that this should be. So in this case, it's check-in, right? Check-in field if you want, or check-in input. And then you can add a description here saying, this is a field to add in check-in date in format YYYY, and then month, and then day. Right, something like that. And then the AI will fill this in by itself. So that's kind of how it works, but I'm not gonna do this, as I mentioned, I just wanna do it quickly. So I'm gonna use these MCP tools. Cool, so now we pretty much have everything, and now we're gonna test it once again. So let me bring this over to another window, and let's run this once again. If I test the workflow on the other window, I'm gonna say, hi, I would like to go to Paris. Okay, that sounds wonderful. Okay, so check-in and check-out dates. I'm planning to stay from the 16th of April to the 20th of April. And we will be 4 guests, including me. Well, just like that. Okay, so let's hit search or enter, and the agent will start looking in Airbnb, retrieving any relevant information, any relevant listings, and it should prepare us a little itinerary that we can follow. There you go. So here are our Airbnb listings from the 16th to the 20th. Here are all the apartments. We see all the prices. And for my itinerary, we have day 1, arrival in Paris, check into the certain accommodation here. So if we actually grab this and we copy the URL and paste it up here, then we see that it pulls up an actual Airbnb room. So this is great. So we're gonna go back to Lovable. And that's it. This is kind of not making any use now, so I'm gonna remove it. Can you remove the UI element on the right and replace it with, what could we replace it with? With a usage system, right, perhaps? So maybe you wanna set this app, as a free trial. So you don't want the people to abuse it, right? And waste your tokens. Add some usage system. You can give them some free tokens. So replace it with a usage system. Every time a message is sent, we will remove 5 tokens. Make this a progress bar based usage system, and give the user 40 tokens to start with. Also add a maps embed below the usage system. Okay, we can add a little map. So let's press enter and let's see what it does. Going full creative here. Okay, that's fine. Let's try to fix this. So when we hit fix, it just sends a predetermined prompt with the error attached. Just makes life slightly easier. We don't have to paste the error ourselves, which helps a lot. Okay, so there's some dependency missing in the project relating to the map that we want to add on the interface. Okay, so if we go here, you can see now that we have a usage system and we have destination map. Okay, this is by Mapbox. We probably need some API key in order to do this. So I'm just gonna grab it real quick from somewhere. Let's see if we can make this work. The Mapbox is not working. Here's my access token. Don't worry, I will delete the token. I'll replace it so you'll not be able to access it. Mapbox access token. And I will add a token here, see what it does. Honestly, I'm really curious to see what it actually does. I'll try now the token system. Let's see if that works. But you see how easy that was, right? I just had to write a semi-decent prompt to build the usage token and the destination map elements. There you go. Now the Mapbox works, right? You can actually move around it as well. So this is impressive, honestly. So now it would be interesting to link this to whatever we're chatting about here. So it might involve a language model. I don't know how hard it is, but nevertheless, like you see this works. Let's see what we can do now. So let's test it again. Now we're gonna test the usage token system. So I want to go to Miami. Right, cool. So we used it once and now it says that 5 tokens have been used, 35 tokens remaining. Okay, so check in, check out. So check in on the 20th April 25. It should know already the current time, I think. n8n has fixed that by providing a global variable that allows the agent to understand, or the language model to understand, what date it is currently at. Before it used to be manual. So check in on the 20th, check out 27th April 2025. Let's say 2 guests to make life easy for the travel agent. Oh, something going on here. So let's try to fix that. There seems to be a mistake with the way the UI being displayed. Please fix it. It seems like it's cut halfway down. So this is not a super perfect, way to develop a full stack app that is ready for production, right? That's not the point. The point is that you're able to see something, right? See your idea come to life. I think that's what's the most important. And you're gonna find errors like these, and the thing is that the only thing that you have to do is just give it a screenshot of the error and then prompt it back and say, hey, there's an error, fix it. And eventually I'm pretty sure you get something that works. Okay, and as you know, you can see any messages, any error message that appear here. And if you seem to not be able to find the problem to what's going on here, there might be some hints in the console here, on the browser console, that you might be able to use and perhaps paste onto Lovable as well. Okay, well now, perfect. So another thing that I want to add is kind of a match. So when I'm talking about going to Miami, I want the map to show Miami, okay? So let's see if that's possible. Doing a little bit of a stretch here. Let's see if this is possible by doing it on the front end without calling any LLMs. I'm curious. So whenever I mention a spot, place that I want to go to, please write that allows the map to appear on the destination that I am talking to with the agent. And I want to ask first, is this possible? And how? Because I'm genuinely curious. So I want to actually understand how it does it on the front end, how it overcomes this problem. But yeah, we see that usage token works. The map is displayed by adding an API, and you can drag around it. It's pretty cool. And then you can talk to the agent. So you could imagine if you had a couple more functions, right, and you want to push this into an actual app, there's this concept called agentic software. So in this concept, you can allow these AI agents to actually use elements in the UI. So for example, you could have a to-do list app, and the agent could actually interact with the elements and with the cards to create tasks for you and delete tasks, edit them, rank them out. In this case, you could perhaps do the same as well. I'm pretty sure there are apps out there that do this, where you actually ask for a travel itinerary, and then it would list out on a map, the area that you're suggesting to go to, and then link all the restaurants together, link all the distances from the airport to the accommodation, and so allowing that AI agent to interact with all the elements in the UI. I think that's a step that we might be headed towards as well. Make the software more useful, right? With the addition of AI. So I've implemented a feature that detects travel destinations in your conversation and shows them on the map. You build a successful. Node.js literal cannot have, okay. So it's trying to name multiple properties with the same name. So let's fix that again. See what the problem might be. As I said, I might be stretching it with this feature, but let's see. So the second entry has been removed, keeping only one instance of Dubai key with this coordinates. Okay, so it seems like it's not possible. By doing it on hardcode, you need some sort of language model or some sort of API connection to something. So let's revert back, okay, to what we had before. Actually, not this one, my bad. The thing is that you could also tell it to add some logic in the front end, which is possible, to call OpenAI or send information to OpenAI in some way, and dynamically change the location of the map. But we're not gonna get too deep into it, okay? So this is just a demonstration to show you how easy it is to just get an idea to reality, and also sending information back and forth with n8n. So I think we did a pretty good job. So the problem now is that you see how everything refreshes. We don't have some form of permanent storage. So everything that we have here, I mean, this is stored on the server itself. Like these are just words, but data that changes. So information about tokens, right? The chat conversations and all that. We need a place to store these. So we're gonna connect to Supabase right now and prepare the relevant tables to be able to connect everything, and so that information doesn't disappear every time we load it back, okay? So I think the best place to start is by having a login page where we add our user details, email, for example, and password. So I'm going to say create a page. Doesn't have a login page, doesn't it? Doesn't have. So create a page where we can log in. Usually like this, you would, in the initial prompt that you have at the start of everything, you should have the project structure already lined up, okay, with all the pages available and all that. It's just that we're doing this on the fly. So create a page where we can log in and store user credentials and collect user credentials so that we can then send it to Supabase. Login, maybe a sign up page. Sign up and login page. Okay. We're gonna wait a second until it does that. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the login page. Maybe sign up. Okay, let's add this one over here and let's add some random password like 12345. So let's sign in. We see that when we sign in, we don't go anywhere. So let's create an account first. 12345, and let's go ahead and create an account. Oh, 6 characters, my bad. Create that account. So I'm not sure where this is going. So the thing is that I don't have anywhere to store this information, and also we have several pages where the user information might need to be related to. So the about page, no user information there. The pricing, yes. Well, if the user clicks subscribe to this one, then we're gonna collect the information. We have to link that to the user ID. That's one thing. Then we also have the different tools that the user might be using, that might want to pay for, right? So we need to link that as well as the conversations, right? The messages that are being exchanged. So we need some form of ID, some conversation ID to track and list what conversation is that, and also link it to a specific user ID. And I think, well, that's one of the few things, right? So in order to make an actual app work, you need a bit of technical knowledge. But the point of this is that you can get something that you were thinking about visually, right? You can get that idea to reality and have a look at it and see how it works. And then perhaps learn a bit about the technical stuff or have someone technical help you out. But yeah. So what we're going to attempt to do now is to connect to Supabase so you can collect that user ID. So let's connect, and yeah, we're connected. So I'm pretty sure now. So Supabase connected, follow now the instructions in the chat to complete the integration. Your app is now connected. You can now work, enable sign in and login options, save app data, add advanced features, add functions. You can add powerful backend features like endpoints. So this is what I was saying before, right? With the map. So actually you can add it on Lovable, but you just needed a place to store stuff. So when I was telling you about this destination map stuff, so you needed some place to store things so that you're able to, match the message with the location and whatnot. That's the solution to that. But anyways, so now let's create some tables in Supabase so that a user can register in the app, then grab that information, user data, and collect it in Supabase. I want to also add conversation data. So perhaps the user is having a conversation with an AI agent, and we want the conversation to still be present even if the user logs in again, right? This is some simple stuff that apps do anyways, but we need to explain it. You can perhaps add the following. So perhaps you could do the users table. So we can add ID, email, Stripe, customer ID, and credits, right? Then number 2, we can add tools one right here. Let's give it some spacing. So the tools table, and we can add ID, name, description, and perhaps credit costs. And then finally, we could add, I don't know, some form of transactions table, and we could put here the user ID. So we would need to mention ID, tool ID, input data, and then perhaps output data. And then 4, we can add a conversations table, and we could add conversation ID, user ID, and we could also add something like that. And then we could do, this is what I think, but please refine this based on the structure of the app and the functionalities and UI elements available. Okay, let's see what it comes up with. Please review the SQL commands. I've designed a comprehensive database schema that includes profiles table, tools table, conversation table, messages, transactions. These tables have appropriate row level security policies, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm gonna check this quickly. So it seems right. And I think if I apply the changes, then it's gonna run the SQL on my behalf inside Supabase. So I think that's pretty cool. Let's see if it actually does that. SQL already executed. So if I go to my dashboard and I go to my table editor, then it did run SQL. So that's pretty cool. And now let's implement authentication with Supabase in the application to enable users to sign up, log in, and persist their conversations. So now we should be able to have persist the conversations. So now when I log in and do all that, now when I chat to the agent, when this refreshes, the conversation should still be there, okay? Because the conversations would not be only stored in the front end in the server. Now the front end is linked to a persistent permanent database, and yeah, the conversations are not going anywhere now. Cool, so now if we try to log in, or not even log in, just try one of the tools. Now we're presented with this sign-in page. If you don't have an account, then you can put in your name here. Let's put a random email, my other burner account. Okay, so let's put like that. So we hit create account, then we'll get a message saying, well, the account has been created successfully. Please check your email for confirmation. So that's what I'm gonna do now. So we receive this type of email, and then we need to hit confirm email. So it's taking us to it's taking us to a link in Supabase. So we open that and that should be good to go. So it shows something like this, but I'm pretty sure there's no need to have a page. I think that gets passed onto Supabase and we're gonna confirm that right now. So if we go here, we go to the tables, we go to profiles, then we see that our Gmail got added, okay? So that's great. So now I also added obviously my other burner account, my Hotmail accounts, and yeah, so by clicking that, it went through. So this actually works. It's great because Supabase handles everything, handles authentication, it handles, the storage of all these different strips of data. And then on top of that, we have Lovable, with which we can chat to, and it's linked to Supabase. So we don't even have to look at the UI to a certain extent anymore, right? If we really wanted to, we could just create tables through here and do debugging through here, just through the chat interface. So it's getting to a point where, although it's still there's still some barrier of entry, right? Some technical barrier. It's getting very easy to build full apps. So now, obviously, I sent the verification. It's prompting me to sign in, so I will do that. So I'll use Hotmail and I'll do 1 2 3 4 5 6, and then I can sign in. Great. Just a quick note as well. You're not able to see your password because it's stored somewhere else. It's encrypted and stored somewhere else. You can do some search, but let's have a look. Yeah, so it's probably stored somewhere around here, encrypted in some sort of token, maybe the confirmation token or something like that. But this is for security for us, so that we don't access the passwords directly. These are some sort of security certifications that some people look at when trying apps as well, to ensure to the users that the passwords are safe and the developers cannot access them directly. This is pretty good. Right, so now we are in, and since we're in, now we can check our account, right? We can check that we logged in. We can go to our dashboard, if the dashboard even exists. So there's no dashboard. But yeah, we can try the tool out. Okay, so there's stuff going on here. What's going on? Invalid input syntax. Guys, I'm showing you the raw unformatted video style here, within the fact that you can get some weird errors like these as well. Invalid input syntax. Okay, so let's copy that. I have the following error in the browser. It probably is something regarding the messages, right? So the messages are not being displayed at all. So it seems to be a problem with a database in Supabase. Okay, so after dealing with those shenanigans, I can tell you that it was a problem from Supabase. It was three issues that were there, all relating with fetching the right data and relating it to my user ID, but now that is fixed. And I also fixed an issue with persistent storage. So now when I go in, you can see that I chatted a bit, it subtracted 5 tokens from my usage, and also remembers the conversation. So just for you to see, I'm gonna test the workflow again on n8n on the other window and say, create me an itinerary for Paris, 3 nights, blah, 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 it doesn't matter. And we're gonna hit enter. So now we're down to 30 tokens. And then, well, we're not gonna go through our processes again. But if if you go back and then you go in again, we're still gonna have all the information in the same place. We have the conversations because now they're stored in Supabase. and also this information regarding the tokens. So that works. Okay, so now that we're able to log in and also take all the login data and the conversations into Supabase so that the data doesn't disappear when we exit and enter Travelly in this case. Now what we have left is setting up a paywall with Stripe. So let's go ahead and do that. Obviously, one of the requirements is to have a Stripe account. So go ahead and create one over here. And once you have one, by the way, you don't need a business to set this up. You can be an individual. And once you do, then we're going to go to payment links. We're going to create a payment link. Okay. So we're going to add a product. Okay. We're going to have subscription Travelly. And that's it. We're going to add it as a new product. Subscription is going to be recurring. In our case, we're going to make it, how much was it? We go to USD and then we go to here. We go to the pricing section. Let's do the 19 a month only. So just to save some time, and that's it. Let's add a product. Cool. So let's create the link. There we go. Now we have a payment link. So we are going to copy that and go back to Lovable. So essentially now what we should do is just instruct Lovable to connect everything together. So now when a user signs up to a plan or gets to insufficient tokens, then we need to inform the user. We need to force them to purchase a subscription through this Stripe payment link. And we're going to add the payment link. Then we're going to do this and separate the prompts. So let's only set up payment for the $19 a month plan. And once they pay, they will get their tokens replenished. Okay. How many tokens was it? 240 tokens. Sounds good. And so we need to reflect all these changes through the Supabase database and link any transactions and top-ups, okay, with the corresponding email / user ID, something like that. Let's click enter. Okay, so now if we go in here, I send a couple messages so that we go below the 10 token. So now it sets up this paywall. And now if I hit subscribe now, we're taken to this page, to this pop-up page on Stripe where we can go ahead and do payments. But the problem is that the way I instructed Lovable, I told Lovable that, yeah, so when you click the link, when you click that button, take them to a link, okay? But there's nothing going on. It's just a link and this is going nowhere, right? So this Stripe link, when I pay, is not going to be connected to Supabase, okay? So we actually need to properly set up that connection so that when payments are made through this site, through this link, then it gets reflected back on Supabase and therefore on our app, okay? So that then the user can top up, and get to the 40 tokens back again. So let's go through this process. So we need to do a couple things. So first we need the Stripe API keys. So let's add an API key for Stripe here. So I'm gonna go here to my account and I think that, I know, should be this one. I'm gonna copy that. So going back here, let's add the API key, submit. So remember that this is a test account, okay? So make sure you are on your test account. So for every account that you make on Stripe, no matter if it's a business or an individual account, I'm pretty sure you have a test version and a live version, okay? You have both. Okay, so now that I have my Stripe secret key, I'll implement a complete Stripe integration for the Travelly tool. And we need to set up these edge functions to do the payment processing, webhook handling, and verifying that the subscription has gone through, right? So this is what I was talking about before. So that the subscription, when someone pays, the changes actually get reflected on the app. So we're gonna go ahead and follow these next steps. So first we need an actual price ID. This is gonna be replaced by a placeholder value that is in payment.ts. So if I paste it here, it's gonna do it itself. Then we need a webhook endpoint that points to the Supabase edge function URL. Makes complete sense. So this is what makes, once the payment happens, then we're sending that data to Supabase to confirm that the user has paid and then top them up with the tokens. And then get the webhook sign-in secret from Stripe and add a secret in Supabase. So let's perhaps do this first one first. So let's go to products and prices. We got this one. we have this product ID. So we're going to grab that and come back here and paste it. Okay, so essentially we created a link. If you remember, whilst creating a link, we had to assign that payment link to a product. Okay, and we created the product on the fly because we didn't have anything. This is blank. So we had to create a product from scratch. And that product is this subscription travel-y thing. And this has an ID associated to it. So you just go to wherever you go to your product catalog, should be here. And then here should be the product ID. Here's the product ID. There you go. Okay, so now it's asking us to update the Stripe webhook edge function to handle my specific product and update the price IDs in the payment service. Makes complete sense. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so we just solved an issue regarding pricing IDs. So essentially the Lovable agent thought that we were going to charge the user multiple ways. So monthly and also as a one-time payment. Essentially on Stripe, how it works is you have a product with its associated product ID. And then that product can have multiple prices, right? So either you want to pay monthly or one time for that product. So therefore that means that you can have multiple price IDs. In this case, I just wanted to have one price ID, which corresponds to the monthly fee. So we sorted that out. Now we only have one price ID, telling us to confirm that price ID over here. And now what we have to do is set up a Stripe webhook, okay? So we need to go to Edge Functions. So if you go on Supabase, then you go to Edge Functions, you're going to find this Stripe webhook here. And essentially what we're going to do is set up a webhook on Stripe so that when the payment is completed, the person pays for it, then we're redirected to the Supabase endpoint or URL so that that data goes to the right database and updates the information about that user because the user not paid. Therefore, we can replenish their tokens and the other necessary data, right? Also, if you click once, you can check how many times this URL has been executed. And therefore, this should mean how many times have people paid for the monthly subscription. You can see other stuff as well. You can see the actual code as well. But anyways, we're going to go back, copy that. And now Lovable, I think there's a link to the webhooks dashboard. So we're going to go in here. And now we are going to create an event destination. Okay, so we're going to add an endpoint. This is going to be the endpoint. We add that URL. And the description is going to be something like Supabase endpoint Stripe. We leave everything as it is. And then for the events, I think we only need the checkout session completed for now. We can use, for simplicity purposes, I think this is just as fine. So let's add the event and let's add the endpoint. Okay, so regarding price IDs, what happened was that the Lovable agent thought that for the product that we have, with the associated product ID, which is in this case is the subscription to Travelly. It thought that we wanted to put multiple price points. So do $20 a month, but also a one-time payment for some reason. So that was a bit random. So then I told Lovable that no, I don't want to have, so essentially the way it works is on Stripe, you make your product, right? It has its product ID, and then that product can have multiple price points, as I mentioned before. So, and these show as price IDs, okay? So if you have monthly, that's one price ID. If you have one-time payment, that's another price ID. And you can stack them up depending on how many prices you want to have. So I only want one price ID. That's it. Only a monthly price. So I sorted that out. And now the next step is to set up a Stripe webhook, okay? We first need to go to Edge Functions here in Supabase and grab this webhook or, well, a URL. So essentially, what's going on here? We're going to set up a Stripe webhook so that when the payment is complete, right, the data from that Stripe interface, right, from whatever the user fills in the Stripe pop-up, right, this one here. So whenever we fill information here, all that information, all the relevant information gets sent to this Supabase URL, and this will essentially update that user with all the relevant stuff because the user paid, so we will top up his tokens and we will refresh everything because he paid. So that's in a nutshell how it works. So we're going to copy this and then we are going to go back. I think there was a link regarding this for creating a Stripe webhook. Yes, it is. It is here. So now we're going to have the URL that we copied before from Supabase, and now we're going to put Supabase URL or Supabase endpoint if you want. Stripe. And then we are going to add the following events. So the first one, checkout. So whenever we check out, we want to know that. Okay, you can also do session expired if you want. You know, it might take some time for the person to pay, and if he doesn't, then there's no point in keeping him there, but I'm just gonna add this to stay simple. And also, since we are updating subscriptions, then we need these relating to the customer subscription. So customer subscription, I think we deleted the other one. Customer subscription, we will just do created. Okay, the more you add, then the more things you have to manage, and this is just a demonstration. So now we're gonna add the endpoint, and there you go. So now we're listening to 2 events. Okay, now what we have to do, I think it's not stated here. Okay, so it is. So I set up the webhook first. Now, we need to confirm this monthly price, which actually I could do right now. Let's finish this first. I'm pretty sure that's correct, but I'll check it at the end. So we did this already. We set up the Stripe webhook, and now we are going to add the Stripe webhook secret. Okay, so we should go to edge function secrets. So let's go here and let's go to secrets. So essentially we need to add the secret here. So let's call it Stripe webhook secret. Okay, so now this value we're going to grab from here where you came from, this sign-in secret. Okay, I'm gonna pause. So this is the sign-in secret that you need to add onto here. Okay, the edge function secret. Okay, so I copied and pasted that across, and now you are going to hit save. Cool. So now you should see this here. Okay, so that should be it. I mean, we need to verify the price ID. Lovable was asking me for it. So we go to payment links here, and then we're gonna look for that price ID. So this is the product. This product probably has a price ID somewhere. Asking for the price ID. Price ID, there you go. It's probably this one. Okay, so we're gonna go back, ends in HDA. Oh, it's not that one actually, so good catch. So price ID is this one. So it was actually correct. The price ID was wrong. Giving it the right one. And actually we should have said as well that we set everything else. But we're gonna do it now. Also, I have created Stripe webhook and also created edge function on Supabase with the webhook secret. Actually mentioned it here. I just tried webhook secret. Yes, configure webhook. Yes. So I think that should be it. Okay, so given that we set up all that, now we should be able to track token usage, allow users to subscribe, process successful payments, and then update user subscription status and token balance. Okay, so let's give that a shot. So as you know, we're on this account. I am essentially broke because I used 5 of 40 tokens. So now I'm going to subscribe. So now we're going to put in the details. Okay, so I didn't show this because it was showing on my card details. But now that we're here, we're going to pay and subscribe. And if it goes well, then we should get all the tokens and that's it. End of story. Right? And we should also see a new Stripe customer ID associated to this Hotmail. What is this about? It's inside Lovable. Okay, that doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean too much. So let's go back here, close this. Let's allow this to refresh. And we see that nothing changed. So just to make sure, let's go back to the login here. It's signed into our account. Okay, we're in the same account and nothing has happened. Okay, so now we need to check where inside this entire flow we have gone wrong. So by just seeing this, it looks like there's a problem with, you see this address, right? This address, let's go to the console. That address looks familiar. There seems to be a conflict with something wrong with Supabase. And my guess is that we have some sort of connection problem between Supabase and Stripe. First, we're gonna check Stripe. So we're gonna check transactions. So we do have a transaction right here. Where did this happen? Right, so we're looking at this one here. So our Hotmail. So that went through. We added the customer as well. And so everything seems to be well here. Let's go now to the edge functions here. Let's go to our Stripe webhook and let's see if we have anything. We do have something. Okay, so interesting. So what are these errors about? So, okay, so this is a 4xx error, right? It could be 450, 400, 401. So that's why you see the X's there, right? These X's here. So if we go to the logs, okay, so webhook signature verification failed. Okay, so there's a problem with the verification of the webhook. Okay, that makes sense. What time is it? Okay, just to confirm. Okay, if we go to the actual tables, we should see that we probably don't have a Stripe customer ID. Okay, so when we make the payment, we should have some form of a customer ID here, ideally in the profiles table, but we don't. Okay, but we do receive some of the information back here in the edge functions. But anyways, we are going to grab. Okay, let's have a look at this. Let's expand this. Okay, so let's copy this message. Let's bring it back. And we're gonna say, there has been an error creating a customer ID, a Stripe ID for a new payment that went through. Stripe, it seems that the customer was created in Stripe and that the payment also went through. We also received some data on Supabase regarding the error that happened. So we're gonna give it a screenshot here. There's two actually. We'll send both, that's fine. And we'll also get the event message. Here's the event message for the last error. And then we're gonna say, here's the metadata associated with that error. Okay, let's go ahead and see what happens. See if we can fix this. So I can see there's an error with the Stripe webhook signature verification in your Edge function. This is happening because the current code uses a sync function for signature verification, but in the Dino runtime environment used by these Edge functions, we need to use the synchronous version. Okay, so this is an error that would have took me a decent amount of time to figure out. So yeah, God bless these coding agents. It just allows us to get to something reasonable in such little time. So we're gonna fix that error in the Stripe webhook edge function. In the meantime, I'm gonna just confirm that we have also received payment. So if we go to payments, transactions, yes, we have received payment from Mr. Frank. Okay, so I fixed the webhook error. So now we updated this, added proper course headers, course origin resource, add a specific handler, make sure to wait the async. Okay, so let's go ahead and try again. Open the payment page. Okay, so fingers crossed. We're gonna pay and subscribe. Return to dashboard. We're signed in to my account. Let's go back to this one anyways, just to make sure. So we are going to go back to login page. We're signed in and there's still something going wrong with the tokens. So let's check here. So we have another error happening at 42. So we're going to, okay, so we still have this 400 error happening at 42 past. So I don't know why. We perhaps need to refresh that. So 42, that's weird. So you didn't receive anything. I want to know if, nope. So nothing. So the payment was made by a 33 past. So we made another payment. Yes, another payment at 42 past to this Hotmail. And we don't have a Stripe customer ID yet for this one. Okay, so that's why we can confirm that this is not working. Okay, so now we need to go back to the error board and see what happened. Okay, so after a decent amount of debugging, I think it's ready now. So there were some issues with Supabase, but I think it should be fixed now. So let's go to Travely. We see token usage of 10 out of 40. So now we're going to subscribe. We're going to the Stripe checkout. Okay, we added our details. Now we're going to pay and subscribe. Now we get a notification here that our payment was successful. Now we're going to go back to our Lovable preview. This should load. And now you see that we refill up to 40. Okay, and so this should be a good indication that it works. But we're gonna check anyways. The best way to, finally understand if this works, like the truth, the single truth point, is to go to Supabase and see if we have a Stripe customer ID. And that's exactly what we have. Okay, so our customer ID associated to the email that we are logged in with. So there you go. So essentially we've done everything. So we fixed that last problem and we went through the whole process. So if I can show you here. So we created a refinement prompt with GPT, we prepared the front end, we built the agent in n8n, then connected everything together, set up the database, set up all the payments, and did a final testing, which is where I spent some time just fixing all the little errors. But you can see that even though it took some time at the end, with enough iterations and with the willingness to learn, you can build something fully functional, right? And mind you that I've done most of this in the chat interface, right? I didn't have to touch a single code editor. I didn't have to code a single thing by myself. It was all done through here. So the barrier is just getting lower and lower and lower. It's just the technical understanding, right, of how these things work. So if you want to learn how to build this, if you're interested in understanding, the errors, the little things that I learned building this with you guys in this video, I will leave everything inside the Neural Architects community for free, okay? You'll be able to check my prompts, the little nuisances, the little nitty-gritties with setting up all the credit systems, sending information back and forth between Stripe, all of that stuff, okay? I'll leave it all there, so feel free to join. And yeah, pretty much it. So just to state again, although I really recommend to just build prototypes and MVPs with this, I'm pretty sure I can bet that, with enough perseverance and with the willingness to understand what's going on and with the help of ChatGPT or another language model on the side so that you can do learning as you go, you can get really far with this, right? And maybe when you're done with n8n, you can actually put code. n8n is great for, as I said, just running simple automation. This is actually a pretty good idea if you think about it. So it's a marketplace with access to agents, or it could be just AI automations, right? You can drop in a file and then it can create a report for you, it can create graphs for you, right? So I found an example here called Agent AI, which is this marketplace where people build agents. So you can see this company research agent, this Flux image generator. So I guess it's just adding an input, sign in, and it seems like they're doing well. So you can replicate this with Lovable and n8n if you really wanted to. So you could replace all of these automations with all of these tools, let's say, with n8n automation in the background by running webhooks. But the thing is that it gets slightly more difficult when you got to manage users, you got to manage subscriptions, right? So when the idea passes from MVP to a later stage, when you start getting users, right? A lot of people don't tell you this when they talk about Lovable n8n combo. It's great for MVP, but when you start getting users, you're gonna have to do a lot of management, and you're gonna have to end up looking at the code. So at that stage, that's when it's reasonable, perhaps hiring a co-founder or hiring a developer to work alongside you and maintaining that code that you initially created, right? Or at least refine it as well so that it scales properly. So yeah, those are the limitations and things that you should understand, right? Don't treat this as the almighty God that is going to build you the 1 million SaaS, because it's not. As you saw, I encountered a lot of errors in the way and they were kind of painful. It was funny because all I had to do to solve some of them is just add screenshots and just chat to it back and forth, but it can get slightly painful compared to just coding it, right? But yeah, completely works, as you can see. And yeah, I honestly enjoyed the journey. It was pretty cool. Mind you, I did not prepare any of this, okay? I did it as I went. So that's a funny part as well. So yeah, I think we can leave the video there. If you want me to make other videos with Lovable, perhaps looking actually into Lovable plus Cursor perhaps, or make more of these, right? Make them slightly more production ready. This is pretty close to being production ready actually. We set up everything, at least from the Stripe and Supabase side as well. I've done a decent job. And one last thing is, I don't think I showed you, but we are storing the messages as well, right? We are using persistent storage for the conversations. So this is something that I didn't show you before. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. As I said, any suggestions, please drop them down in the comment. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and a follow. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, if you want to chat with people similar to you and similar to me that are building the tools of the future, then join Neural Architects. I'll be there chatting with people, and yeah, just join the conversation, honestly. I'll see you in a bit. Thank you.